right, welcome to episode 99 of the 2 in the Morning. Back on the topic of college football today again. Jay, are the Florida Gators the best team in college football?
We just did a video on who's the best team in the SEC, and I didn't pick the Gators there, so I can't pick them overall. In the SEC, I picked Alabama. Outside of that, you got the biggest competitor, Ohio State, Clemson, maybe Notre Dame, but for me, best team overall in college football, I'm going to stick with Alabama. I'm going to stick with the coach god, Nick Saban. He's a Bill Belichick of college football. To me, the number 2 team is Clemson. Obviously, quarterback-wise, I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence over Mac Jones. Mac Jones, great quarterback. He might even win Heisman, depending on how Trevor Lawrence does after COVID coming back. But that's also a factor why I can't pick Clemson right now. We haven't seen Trevor Lawrence since he's been back from COVID. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he didn't lose a step at all. Just one little precaution. But outside of the quarterback, like I said, coaching staff, I'm going to give to Alabama. Wide receiver, depth chart, close. Going to go with Alabama. Defense, I'm going to go with Alabama. Offensive line, Alabama. Just too many factors. Obviously, the quarterback's your number 1 factor to consider. But outside of that, I think Alabama outmatches pretty much everyone, everywhere, in every condition.
All right. I'm going to say that Florida has the chance to be the best team. I think that if they're able to beat Alabama in this championship game, in the SEC championship game, assuming they make it there, that they can beat anybody. Because as you just said, Alabama, I'd say, is probably up there with the number 1 team right now. And I don't see Florida losing to anybody else as long as our defense doesn't give up 60 points, which is possible. But if our defense can tighten up, I think that Florida is very possibly a very good contender for number 1 team right now. I just love the offense style they run. And Kyle Trask is a great guy to run it. I mean, he analyzes the field so good, and he's able to put the ball where it needs to be. And Dan Mullen trusts the hell out of him, and he is in such a good page with all his receivers around him. I think that's why our offense is so explosive right now. Dan Mullen is able to call the right plays, and with the entire offense having such a good connection, it allows them to execute those plays good. Todd Grantham is our defensive coordinator. He has been good in the past, not doing too hot this season. So hopefully he can fix something. I don't know what's going on there, but our secondary has been exposed a couple times. I think if we tighten that up a little bit, then it's very possible that we are the best team. And another little other team to consider, I think, is OSU. We haven't been seeing a lot of them this year. They've been on COVID and stuff. But Justin Fields is playing a hell of a fucking season so far, and I just think he's a really solid quarterback. We'll see once they play Indiana, who's going to be the toughest team on their schedule this year. We'll see what happens with that, but they haven't played enough yet for me to say that they're the best.
Yeah, that's a good point with OSU. For me, they weren't really in consideration for best team in college football, even though they're ranked number 1, which seems, I don't know, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, too.
Sorry, number 2. That's a good point. Anyway, I don't consider OSU elite yet, even though they may very well be. It's just they haven't proved it really, which is kind of what the whole nation sees in them right now. So for my number 1 team in college football, I think I'm going to go with Clemson. The main reason being Trevor Lawrence. Of course, we haven't seen him play for the past 2 weeks, which has been unfortunate for him. But what I really saw from this Clemson team was them step up in the absence of their star quarterback against their best team that they're going to play against in the regular season, being Notre Dame. Backup quarterback, he's a freshman in there, and they stood toe-to-toe with a powerhouse in Notre Dame. Now they did, of course, give up, I think, 41 points. So their defense, of course, I mean, Trevor Lawrence's absence doesn't physically affect their defense, but in my opinion, just the absence of your main guy affects everybody mentally. So I think the fact that team was able to stand in there and turn the ball over twice and still almost beat a Notre Dame team that's very powerful. So I think when they get Trevor Lawrence back, which they will this weekend against FSU, which doesn't really mean a whole lot. I mean, that's not a very good team in the Seminoles, but I think they'll start to click this weekend. And then from here on out, carry that power with Trevor Lawrence through the national championship. So, like I said, strong offense with Etienne as a running back, good receivers, and of course Trevor Lawrence coming back. We saw Etienne turn the ball over twice, ugly against Notre Dame, which again is something that I think will be eliminated with your star quarterback. I mean, just the way he leads the offense really holds everything together. So So I got to take Clemson. Alabama's obviously right there with them, as well as Florida. I mean, I don't think this is a big gap between number 1, number 2, number 3, in my opinion. But like I said, Alabama's program, I think their defense, their entire team is probably a little better than Florida. And then I think Clemson's just got that edge over Alabama right now. Alabama's full of a lot of young players. And then with Clemson being led by college veteran Trevor Lawrence, like I said, I'm going to take Clemson.
Yeah, I think a lot of things can change. I mean, it still is a little early. I didn't even mention Najee Harris for Alabama. That's obviously a huge
very good
condition for them. That'll definitely benefit come playoffs and SEC championship time. But like I said, this week has a lot of potential. Gators play Vanderbilt. Kyle Trask could throw another 6 touchdowns and increase his Heisman case. Trevor Lawrence plays FSU. He can throw 6 touchdowns, increase his
We could
Heisman
also
case.
see Trevor Lawrence come back and not look like Trevor Lawrence that we know.
But
I mean, who knows? Who knows? Every time I think of a quarterback getting COVID, I think of Cam Newton and how that basically ruined him. He's horrible now.
Yeah.
So I hope that doesn't happen to Trevor Lawrence, but it's possible.
And then, like Wade said, Ohio State plays Indiana this week, number 10 ranked.
Is that this week?
Is that this week?
I think it's either this week or next week.
Anyway,
I want to say it is this week, but either way.
Soon.
It's coming up. That's just a lot of big games coming up. Or not big games necessarily for Florida and Trevor Lawrence, but a lot of games for their Heisman cases. But I think if Florida can't even stop Vanderbilt, who hasn't won a game this year defensively, and hold them to at least, I don't want to say a touchdown because that's just unrealistic, but under at least 17, 20 points, then I just don't see them having any shot against Alabama, Texas A&M again if that somehow happens, or say we make it into the playoffs against Clemson, Justin Fields, and Ohio State. This is just a big week this week and showing a lot of conditions.
So, are we just discrediting Notre Dame? I mean,
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say to discredit when they just beat the number 1 ranked team.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why do we? I mean, I think Notre Dame has certainly proved more than Ohio State has, but in my head, Ohio State's still better, which I guess they just have everyone brainwashed because they're Ohio State. But yeah, Notre Dame right now at the 3 now.
They're 2 or 3. I don't remember. I guess it depends who you look at the rankings.
See, when I think of Notre Dame, though, for the past
rankings, but
5 years, they've been ranked in the top 6, I think, to start the season, and every year they've dropped out to like 18. So I don't know. I was half expecting that to happen this year, and they seem to have proven themselves against Clemson. So they may be in the talk very soon if they keep mowing over teams. I mean, Boston College put up a good game against Clemson, and Notre Dame was able to roll right over them without a problem. So
yeah, I think. That's a good point, but to say the best team, I think it's really between Alabama and Clemson.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much betting for the ACC championship. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back for Clemson, and we all are betting them to beat Notre Dame. I guess they're overweighting it a touch because obviously anything can happen. But like Carson said, it was a close game. Notre Dame only won by 7, and it was double overtime. So really, like you said, it was one of those important drives. Just Clemson quarterback took a bad sack.
Two bad sacks in a row.
Really.
So really, Clemson, like I said, Clemson stayed toe-to-toe with the backup quarterback. And 2 ugly turnovers that team would never make with Trevor Lawrence.
But their quarterback still threw for 400 yards. I think.
He played really well.
I think he looked just as good. Trevor Lawrence is probably a little bit better.
I mean, stat-wise, yes, he looked good, but you can't replace the leadership that Trevor Lawrence brings to the field, in my opinion, with the backup.
I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I just think in every position there's a team that outranks them somewhere.
You mean Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somewhere Nick Saban has the better running back and coaching staff, him and himself. Clemson has a better quarterback. We have Kyle Pitts at tight end, and he could go to defense. He could pick any of those teams except Florida, and I'm going to take their defense over Notre Dame. So overall, I got Alabama, Wade's got Florida, Carson's got Clemson. That was good.
All right.
Sounds good.
2 minutes.
Morning.